job over the last year and a half, 2 years. We've seen some really good things going with the party, and we can't do it without volunteers, obviously. And there's one that we all agreed, one gentleman who has been at the vanguard of just selfless dedication to moving the party forward and to the cause of liberty. And so we came up with the Donald Reed Deal Liberty Warrior Award. So the first recipient, Mr. Brad Hessel. Brad, you're tireless. Thank you. We couldn't do it without you.
Thank you, sir.
So before we officially open convention, we have a speaker I'm very excited about. Off the record, I have been harassing her to officially change the Libertarian Party for her next Secretary of State run. But she has run for office 4 times now? 2 times and 1 primary. You should definitely give her a follow on X, Twitter, retweeting Pair Island and the Mises Institute all the time. Fired up. Here to talk about how far our country has strayed from our founders' original vision, Christine Villaverde.
Good morning, everybody. One thing that sucks to get old, you can't read your own typing. My name is Christine Villaverde, and as Rob said, I did run for office previously as a Republican. A little bit about me, I was raised in a military family, Air Force brat for 20 years, married my high school sweetheart. He was 82nd Airborne Fort Bragg. I got the luxury to travel all around the world. And let me tell you what, the United States is the best country in the world because of freedom-loving patriots like y'all. I was also a police officer, so I got to see the good and the bad side of law enforcement and coercive tactics of the government. Obviously, depending upon who wears the badge, it can go either good or bad for us, as we know. I actually got my undergraduate degree from Fayetteville State University. I'm a Bronco. I got that when I was at Fayetteville. Loved it there. Very different being on this other side of the coin there was the teacher's pet. Getting a criminal justice degree. It was one of those things that I've always wanted to do was continue my education. I ended up going back to Liberty University, got my master's degree in public policy. And now I'm at Liberty University getting my PhD in public policy with a concentration in economics. This way I can really, with authority, tell you how far the government has strayed from its founding roots. As we all know, federalism is concerned with not just self-rule, but shared rule. In its broadest terms, federalism involves the linking of individuals, groups, and we're all just trying to live in this limited union in a way that provides for the pursuit of happiness. As a political principle, federalism defines the constitutional diffusion of power. I know we've all heard checks and balances, but what does that actually mean? In theory, that sounds great, but in practice, it's so much more. As you know, we started out with shared rule, a federalist system where we had dual responsibility, where the national government, it's not the federal government, the national government was limited in what they could do. We had sphere sovereignty. We had distinct sovereign spheres where the national government stayed, the states had their sovereignty, but at the end of the day, sovereignty resides in all of us. We, the people, are where sovereignty lays. Unfortunately, the government and those in charge have forgotten that. So the problem with federalism is that how do we share this political power? Like it's in theory, we're supposed to be sharing it and staying in our own spheres of responsibility. But when you're talking about how in practice that works, who's going to be in power and how we're going to share that power, that's where we have a problem. I obviously, we have people that are vying for the power every day with money that overrides that for the first time in human history. These universal ideas became the foundation of what we now know is American federalism. And it was because of these principles, not in spite of them, that rather than ending in tyranny, the American Revolution, it culminated in what is now a constitutional government that has since endured. These core principles came under direct assault at the start of the last century. As we all know, the progressive movement are alien to our founding fathers. Washington, Adams, Jefferson, Hamilton, Madison, none of them would have, they could never have imagined how far away we strayed from those initial ideas of our founding. The progressives have not only repudiated the founders' principles, they no longer hold that these truths are self-evident. In the Declaration of Independence and elsewhere, and they do not believe that we have these inalienable rights. They believe that the government can dole out the rights. So that changing the rights held at the indulgence of the government must be governed. They think that we have a living constitution. And instead of living by these constitutional principles, the constitutional parameter that our founding fathers deliberated on, and yes, made concessions on, they don't believe that the Constitution, they don't think it should be standard. They don't believe in originalism. They think that it should be a living, growing Constitution that changes with our times. The progressive view of the United States has driven American politics. We know the rise of government throughout the 20th century. Today, we've seen this in academia, in the media, in the intellectual elites. Not to just don't even think about the donor class and the two main political parties. They believe that this platform or this modern liberalism is the way that we need to go. They believe that progress means a new form of government. They want to engineer this better society, assuring equal outcomes and redistributing wealth through a distant, patronizing welfare state, the nanny state, as we all know it to be. The New Deal and the so-called Great New Society, they believe were steps forward for the United States. They believe that the path we are following is turning America into this great centralized European-style state. But they're stifling our economy. They're nationalizing our industries. We shouldn't have these nationalized health care. Our critical infrastructure is all nationalized. Transportation is nationalized. Where did they get this idea from this real ID? That is deliberate overstep from the American government. That's the nanny state. That snuck in after 9/11 because they were supposedly going to stop terrorism. That's an overreach. That's going to be a federal system where we're all listed instead of states having control of transportation and us having the freedom and the liberty to fly at will, to go across the country at will. We have to ask for permission now just to board an airplane. This is not progress, but the revival of a failed, undemocratic, and illiberal form of statism. More than 170 years ago, Alexis de Tocqueville warned of a new form of tyranny that reduces a self-governing people to nothing more than a herd of timid and industrial animals of which the government is now the shepherd. There's another way forward. The slow Europeanization, or Californication, as we all know it to be, of America is not inevitable, but it takes a monumental effort to get our country back on track by everyone in this room. We don't need to remake America. The change we need is not the rejection of America's principles, but a renewal of the foundational principles and constitutional wisdom that are the true roots of our country's greatness. We must look to the principles of the American founding, its philosophical grounding, its practical wisdom, and limitless spirit of self-government and independence, not as a matter of historical curiosity, but as a source of assurance and direction for our very future and the survival of America. In a world of moral, economic confusion, our best access to permanent truth is to be grounded in the foundation of America. Reclaiming our future requires a concerted effort to push back progressive assault on liberty and recover the founding principles that made this country great. So reclaiming it is not going to be easy. Obviously, we're all in this room because we know that there's a problem. But understanding there's a problem and having direct impact to change what we see going wrong is something entirely different. The first step we need to do is to swear to support and defend the Constitution in its original form, with a limited government and with us all in this room, sovereigns of its future. We must defend free markets and fiscal responsibility, the fruits of our hard work and our own entrepreneurship, for the sake of improving our own selves, our families, not redistributing what we've earned and giving it to others because they decide they didn't want to follow the same path and strive for their own. We know that there's opportunities long associated just with the American dream, just being lucky enough to be born an American citizen. At a time when the American system of democratic capitalism is under attack, we must reconnect our economic arguments for liberty and prosperity with a moral case for equal opportunity, free enterprise, and human creativity. We have to revive self-government. In assuming more and more tasks in more and more areas outside its sphere of responsibility, our modern government has greatly damaged American self-rule. By promoting this entitlement mentality and dependency rather than self-reliance and independence, the administrative government encourages a character that is incompatible with liberty. We have to promote liberty not only in North Carolina and in the United States, but around the world. We can Americanize Europe with liberty and freedom. The founders knew the perpetuation of liberty would depend on spirited citizens and patriotic statesmen like all of us in this room. They have actively engaged in the task of governing ourselves since 1776. The constant challenge is the reason American constitutionalism was from the beginning, is now, and will always probably be an experiment, that great American experiment. And it's not so much about whether we're going to be more conservative or liberal. It's about whether America remains America. It's whether we will leave to our children and our grandchildren a country grounded in our highest ideals of freedom, free markets, and the unalienable right to life and liberty. And it's not whether we will leave our children, our grandchildren, something the liberals want this country to be, but we want to leave our children a country that is fundamentally what the founders so diligently deliberated upon. They knew that America was worth fighting for. Other parties believe the federal government needs to dictate how Americans live, how we should work, how we should raise our children, how we should educate them, and in the process, they deprive people of freedom, prosperity, and security. Their agenda is based on government control. Our agenda is based on freedom. We stand at a crossroads, and we can work together. We can bring this nation on a path to freedom and opportunity, or we can step aside while those in power keep us on a path of diminished liberty and economic decline. But we are here because we believe in America and the goodness of the American people, the boundless potential of every American to live out their dreams in freedom and prosperity. I hope everyone here today leaves inspired by everybody else in this group. And I hope that you are more convinced than ever that we will do as Americans have done through our long and storied past, and we will now and forever defend our freedom. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about, obviously, our system of federalism? It was initially created to be a system of dual federalism. This is where the national government had their sovereign area. This is before the federal tax. This is before they decided, about 100 years ago, that they needed to fix all of our problems. The New Deal, as we all know, those in power are really good at using a crisis to usher in and the ratcheting up of big government. Unfortunately, that ratchet only seems to go the one way. It only goes towards a larger and bigger leviathan of government. With these tendrils, they're little feelers going into every part of society in our economy. There's just there's that thought that we can devolve the federal government. But how do we do that? How do we do that when our system is no longer that dual system? Now we have what is described as that marble cake effect, where you have parts of the federal government that has encroached upon state sovereignty and even local sovereignty. We see the federal government coming in and controlling our critical infrastructure, controlling our economy, eminent domain, taking our property. We no longer are sure of our own property rights, because if somebody with this idea that for economic development, they can take your property and give it to somebody that could potentially use your property in a better way. We have this marble cake system now where we're so entwined. How do we go about disengaging the federal government with these areas of responsibility at the states? And the states are right in on this, because, as you know, our taxes are paid to the national government, and our states then have to try to seek grants and opportunities to get that money back. So if we could get rid of, obviously, the federal taxes, then we could get back to a system of dual federalism, where we actually have state sovereignty. And we, the people, in what was supposed to be the laboratories of democracy, the states that were closer to the people, could actually provide for the people. We could get back to where we're not always saying, well, the government's going to fix it, but community members, church members, families can step up and actually fill in like we should have. We shouldn't be falling back on the federal government to fix all of our woes. That's not how this nation was founded. Our psyche as Americans have somehow changed. The government 100 years ago said, no, you can't do it on your own. You can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You have to be dependent on the government. They believed that, the GIs coming back from World War II had to be presented with the GI Bill. They had to get a house. They had to get an education. But all of this comes at a cost. It comes at a cost of our freedoms and our liberties. Because now, instead of as a default having freedom and liberty, we're having to ask permission. We're overregulated, overburdened by, licensing to be a barber. Why do you need a license to be a barber? I mean, why does the state go into our pocket and license and regulate every little aspect of our lives? Freedom and liberty is given to us at birth. Government does not give us freedom and liberty. How do we go back to what the founding fathers envisioned? How do we go back to that dual system of federalism? You know, it's one of those things. In theory, you think, okay, well, we need to just shrink the federal government. We need to devolve. We need to, get rid of, the regulation. But how do we do that when our legislators are in the pocket of big businesses that want these regulations? Right now, our wishes are subsumed because those people with the money have the louder voices. How do we come together in a concerted effort with a louder voice that can overcome the almighty dollar? Right now, our founding fathers envisioned these states that would be strong, that we would have representatives that would jealously guard their power. But instead, they're falling in line with the executive and the executive's agenda. Who's going to fight for our agenda? We don't have that voice that fights for freedom and liberty. We have those that are fighting for the lobbyists and the big corporations and the Pfizers, those people with the deep pockets. How do we fight back and get a voice when sometimes it feels like we're the voiceless? I mean, really, when you think about it, in theory, it's so easy to say we need to return to our founding. But how do we do that on the ground? Well, it's going to take small steps. It took 100 years to get here, and it's unfortunately going to take a concerted effort by all of us to rip that control back from the federal government and just return it to the people. Does anybody have any questions? I know I could talk all day long. Sorry, I'm a nerd. Going for my PhD. I'm like one of those weird nerds that like to shoot guns and fish and ride horses, but I love my books too. So. Absolutely. You can find me on social media. Rob's got all my information, and you can go to votevillability.com. I have a website that's up, and you can learn all about me. It's easy to Google me, so I'm all over social media. Because Rob will tell you, I critique people left and right. I'm like, no, this is against the Constitution. I'm all up about just things that the federal government, they decide to overstep. They know what they're doing is unconstitutional, and they wait for obviously somebody to smack them down. It's usually SCOTUS, but it takes a little while for that to happen. So we need those people out there that are fighting for us and fighting in the right way, the constitutional way, the moral, the ethical way for freedom and liberty. Thank you. I didn't know there was stuff over here.
Oh, yeah. Again, thank you, Christine, for the wonderful speech and just showing us just how far we have strayed from the original founding ideas. It is 9:37. We're technically past time, but we won't take till 10 o'clock. So if you just stand at ease for just a second, we're going to try and figure out a tech issue, and then should be good to go in just minutes. Stand at ease. Yes. Or sit. Either one's fine.
Move forward to the empty table here, or here, or here. Or I will crank this up and deafen you. It's not a limitation of the sound system. You know what? Sometimes the font didn't get smaller. Maybe my eyes got weaker. It's just the way it works when you get, you know, to the 80 feet. Some of us weren't there when the founding fathers were putting this all together. If you were, we don't have that advantage inside. Yes, I would have. Exactly. We will go into discussion at this moment. Unsuspending the rules. Follow the rules. Yes, I'll be absolutely. You can ask people to drop off the Wi-Fi if they're done.
All right, everybody. Good morning. I am Ryan Brown, Chair of the Libertarian Party. I am out of Grenville County, and we are going to call convention to order, 2025 LPNC convention at 9:41 a.m. Welcome, everybody. There you go. The first order of business we have is the Secretary's report from James Higgins, which will just include the delegate counts we got. Once the wireless microphone is working.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. We have 43 checked-in delegates, which means a majority vote would take 22, a 2/3 vote would take 29 of us, and a 7/8 vote for those rare votes would take 38 of us.
Excellent, thank you. The next thing we have on the convention rules is the adoption of the agenda. So I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda that you guys have printed in your ballot. All right, moved by Brad Hessel, seconded by Mac Browder. Is there any objection to the agenda that we have in front of us? Alrighty, without objection, we will adopt the agenda. Just a couple ground rules, just for everyone's benefit. When speaking, just state your name, the county you're from, and then we will, that way it's easy for the minutes and the people who are in the building. A couple other things, there's a water station in the back there. There are bathrooms in the hallway. And then if you guys need to have a conversation, you can just step back into that other half room just so we're not talking too much on the floor. But, alrighty, now we are on to the state of the state. I'm going to ask Barbara to come up here in just a second. She's going to share the finances. But first, affiliates, and we are growing the party's reach in media and on the ground. Financial support has remained strong despite the political climate and the economic climate, and ongoing libertarian fighting that always seems to happen. Our donors have stayed committed, and the volunteers have been active, and so we're able to keep the operations going, and we are ready for growth. We're set up in a good spot for growth. I'll have Barbara come up here and just give the specifics on the finances, if that's good. Yep. Barbara Howard is the current LPNC treasurer. So. Yes, thank you, Barbara.
My report is brief. Sorry. Thanks everybody for being here. I did the numbers for, I can't see. I'm between glasses after cataract surgery, so I need readers. I crunched the numbers for what month is this? April. And we had 38 unique donors in April for a total of $705.56. Somebody's doing a $5.56 pledge. which is an average pledge amount of $18.57. Our current balance is $47,052.35. Now we could have some bills for the convention, so that number can go down a bit. We've made it insanely easy for you to pledge to the Libertarian Party this year. Look on the back of your car, your name tag. Look around back there in the other room. Barcodes, they come to me. I've already got 3 or 4 this morning. I know who you are and I know where you live. If you're a current pledger to the party, raise your hand. Okay. There are a lot of you who aren't. I would encourage you to pledge 5, 10, 25, whatever amount you want to. I do appreciate it being more than 5 because it's a lot of paperwork if it's. But, please support the party. The pledges, consistent income makes it easier for us to plan. So do it. Thank you. And support the silent auction out there. I donated 181 books. Some of them are signed. So.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Barbara. And again, yes, thank you for everyone who has been donating and donating specifically to the silent auction or donating monthly or donating to the certain pledges or the certain drives that we have, whether it be earmarked for the podcast or media or candidates. But thank you for all those donations. We're very fortunate to have Barbara as treasurer, and we appreciate all the work she's doing. All right, now the rest of it. We have had some internal, disagreements, but we're libertarians, and the people in this room are the people who are actually doing the work. They're not the ones who are having all the noise on social media and trying to start fights and whatnot. The group in here is the core group, and that's the people that I'm proud of, and that's the people that are doing all the work. Our donor base is strong enough that we can do what the people of this party want to do. We just need more volunteers and more people to do it. So, going forward, I want to focus on actually getting the work done and losing some of the noise and focusing on this strong core group that we've got, because this group can make a lot of waves in the next 2 years. Looking back a little bit, in 2024, our candidates got over 1 million views across the state. That was because of multiple strong county parties running multiple candidates and a very successful slate of council of state races. That vote milestone is proof that our message actually resonates with the people. The message is that our ideas are popular. The libertarian vote can swing an election in the statewide races and in council of state and in federal races. We can take that into local elections this year. The people see us as legitimate party running legitimate candidates. And in 2025, local elections are the priority, period. This is a very unique opportunity in the 4-year election cycle. It's just after a big presidential election. People are focused on what the president's doing. They're not necessarily focused on being active in the state party, Democrat or Republican level. And there are a lot of local races. Just in my city alone, city of Creedmoor, there's 3 city council and a mayor slot, and those races are won by less than 200 votes. So those are the elections that we need to win. We have to run as local candidates. We have to know our city council. We have to know our county boards. We have to run in those specific elections. The presidential elections are fun. You get to see presidential candidates, senate candidates, everything else. But the local elections are where we can make our biggest difference, and that's this year. We can't waste this year. We have to be active. And if your affiliate is active in supporting, awesome. If you don't have a county affiliate, the state party would love to help. But look to register for a local election this year. I believe filing is in the middle of July, and there's probably a local election where you live. That being said, there are plenty of people inside and outside the Libertarian Party who want our mission to fail. But our mission is simple. Elect local libertarians by spreading the libertarian message to the people we know and making a difference in our cities. When we make that effort to reach out to people in our cities, we're going to build the personal connections, and personal connections are what's going to allow us to get elected locally. From there, we can run from city to county, from county to General Assembly, and from General Assembly, once we have people elected there, we'll be a much greater force to reckon with. Now, obviously, obviously that's not something that's going to happen in 2 years, but that's what we have to strive for, over the coming 5 or 6, 8 years. We've got local elected libertarians in the last, I think, 3 election cycles. It's possible to win in the state. We just have to find the people, and we have to do the work ourselves, and we have to get these people elected. And the people in this room are the best people to make that happen. This is our core group, and we're a strong core group. So, I won't sit here and lie and tell you that this is the strongest party that's ever been. There's lots of reasons for that. National politics is just clown world again. It's crazy. The Libertarian National Committee, there's issues there. Statewide, there's issues. But this core group is focused on doing the work, and that's something I want to focus on, just doing the work and getting it done. Going forward to 2025 and 2026, the Libertarian Party is the only third party recognized in North Carolina. There's Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, and unaffiliated. We were the only party to maintain our ballot access this year outside the major parties. And that is just from people who are doing the work. We had a strong council of state. We had a strong governor candidate. We had just great candidates, and that's why we were able to maintain it. But we got to show why going forward. So let's get active in our local affiliates. Let's get active in our local elections, and let's show them. We have what we need. We have our core group. We have our tech. We have enough money to do what we need to do. We have the data to know, when the elections are going to be, how we can win them. The next steps are clear. We need more candidates to run, more volunteers, and more wins. But if we do that, we can make a difference over this year specifically in local elections and the next couple of years in general. So the LPNC is in a strong position, and let's work to keep it that way. Thank you, guys. One other thing I'd like to say is that Article 8 of our bylaws has something called the Advisory Senate. The Advisory Senate shall be an honorary council consisting of executive committee members who have completed their terms, those who have completed a federal or statewide campaign as Libertarians, and those who have been appointed senators by the party and convention. So, in 2024, we have quite a few people who met those qualifications. Our 2024 candidates, Mike Ross, Shannon Brave, Bob Trock, and Sean Hall, all ran statewide races. They all earned the senator badge, the term of senator there. Some of them had already run as senators or already were senators, so you don't need to get an extra one. But if you do not have your senator badge, find me. I have a couple, or find Phil Jacobs in the back. He's got a whole bag of them. We also had Tom Bailey, George Cormos, Guy Mueller, and Steve Feldman earn one from running as House of Representatives for the federal elections. And then our 2025 executive committee members who completed their terms were myself, Sean Hagen, Nick Taylor, Mac Browder, Angela Humphreys, and Christina Arguez. So those are the, let me get this right, 14 people who earned senator badges this year. So just a big round of applause for everyone who did that. Alrighty. Let's see. At this moment, I'll put away my laptop. At this moment, as is tradition of LPNC, I will entertain a motion, if anyone is willing to make one, in accordance with bylaws 12, section 5, that would designate any member of the LPNC who is present to be a delegate if they are not. Moved by Matt Prater, seconded by Trevor Miles. All right. I believe this would only affect a couple delegates, but or alternates who are either alternates that become delegates or people who are not delegates who would then become delegates. Is there any discussion or anything on this motion? Is there any objection? Alrighty, then without objection, anyone who is an LPNC member in this room is now a delegate in accordance with our bylaws. If you do not have a delegate badge and you want one, there's probably someone back there checking who can give you one. If not, Matt Clemens will be back there. Alrighty. And then just before we get into the swing of things, I want to say thank you to some of our volunteers. James Higgins, Christopher Sessions, Nick Taylor, and Matt Clemens working back in registration. You all saw them this morning. Thank you. Convention committee, James, Rob, Matt, and Angela. Even though she technically wasn't on the committee, she showed all the meetings. Thank you for that. When it comes to silent auction, thank you, Angela, for making it all look pretty, and thank you for the affiliates who donated and the individuals who donated. And David Ulmer, Junior AV Tech, thank you. Why everyone can hear you or hear me. And then I want to thank countless other volunteers who just showed up and did stuff. You know, it's something that you just help out, and we really appreciate it. Alrighty, let's get into the swing of it. The first item of business is the reading of resolutions. Had anyone prepared a resolution beforehand that they would like to be read so that we can consider it later this afternoon when voting? Excellent. Then, without that, we are now back 4 minutes ahead of schedule, and we are on to the Bylaws and Rules Committee report. Alright, this should be in your packet. It's 2025 LPNC Bylaws Committee report. We are going to consider these under the procedures laid out in Convention Rule 5. It is everybody's favorite rule. It's a little bit hard to follow. It does actually make sense if you read it. There's a lot of points, and so if you see me looking at Barbara Howe, because she knows this rule better than I do, and she's going to keep me in track. But, alright, I am going to just read the top-level report. The committee consisted of myself out of Granville County, Brian Brown, James Higgins out of Mecklenburg, Phil Jacobson out of Wake, Sean Haw out of Durham, and Stephen Sumner out of Duplin County. We had 4 members, D. Watson out of Wake County and John Wise out of Mecklenburg County. So just again, a thank you for all of the people who worked on that committee. This is the LPNC Bylaws Committee report. Throughout late 2024 and early 2025, the committee met regularly to propose and consider changes to the bylaws and rules. The committee has listened to feedback from members of the LPNC throughout the process, and we are proposing a total of 8 changes to the bylaws and rules. We have included a complete proposal from a member outside of the committee, just so it would save on hassle of trying to coordinate that later. And thank you for your consideration of each proposal. The order of these proposals are not terribly important. It was mostly just to format on the pages correctly. And hopefully, since we've got a short 8 changes and they're pretty straightforward, we should be able to get through this quickly. Phil Jacobson. The first item is abolish note. If you'd like to come up and present that. And just for everyone's edification, if we do change a bylaw, it becomes effective immediately. And if any addition or alteration to the convention rules becomes effective at the close of convention. So, yeah, I don't know how to count. There's 9 plus 1. Thank you, Ace. All right, Phil, give me your name and
I am Bill Jacobson from Wake County, and I was on the committee that drafted this. Closely, can you hear me? I've been in the back. Can you hear me? Looks like you can. Okay. First item here is dealing with none of the above. Before I go into that, how many were here at the convention last year? Enough of you that probably remember what a mess it was, because we tried to make none of the above work better, and we ended up making it work much worse. We wasted a whole lot of time, and the committee decided that we had enough. So the proposal is to abolish the whole thing, the whole concept of none of the above. On your, if you're looking at the sheet here, you just see it's all struck out. I will read the rationale. Until the last LPNC State Convention 2024, none of the above had no practical impact on LPNC business. It wasn't most an amusing quirk which some delegates used to indicate that they opposed unanimous decisions. Most delegates didn't use it and didn't really understand it. To make NOTA clearer and more efficient, a proposal to reform NOTA was crafted by a committee assembled specifically to make NOTA consolidated reference to NOTA, the proposal consolidated reference to NOTA into Rule 9, which is what we're dealing with here now. And that's a good thing because the NOTA had been scattered throughout the bylaws. So it was useful to bring it all to one place. But while the change got overwhelming support from the delegates, few actually understood how it would work. As a result, for the very first time, the convention actually voted to drop delegates to the National LP Convention. We didn't intend to do that, but that's what we did, reducing the LPNC's representation. This result was either intended or desired by anyone, and it required extra time during the business portion of last year's convention to fully reverse this impact of NOTA. Novelty with NOTA is counterproductive. It should simply be removed from the convention rules.
All right, thank you very much. So, yes, David, can we get microphones just on the sides? Yes. So, if you read Rule 5, which is what I was going to do here, yes. So, Phil has given his 2-minute presentation, and then the convention chair shall open the recommendation to discussion and restricted amendment for a period of time. For a bylaw convention rules recommendation, this period is 15 minutes. So, during discussion of a committee recommendation, any motion to amend is restricted in 2 ways. Before any discussion of the amendment, an immediate vote is held on whether the motion to amend should be accepted for consideration. A simple majority shall be required, and a time limit is 5 minutes. So at this point, you can make a motion to amend it a certain way. We will vote on whether to hear the amendment, or adopt the amendment and debate the amendment, and then we'll vote finally on the amendment itself. And your name and county, please.
Hello. Susan Hobart, Bay County. Yeah, I want to amend this to include 1 and 2 and just strike 3. So I'm trying to.
So your amendment there would be to, instead of removing the entire rule, only remove Rule 9, Section 3.
Correct.
That motion is seconded by Ace. Now we go to a vote on whether to consider this amendment for 5 minutes. To have more discussion at the end of 5 minutes, we will vote on whether or not to actually adopt the amendment. So this is just a simple vote to move to consideration of this amendment. So all in favor of considering this amendment, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. So we will have 5 minutes of discussion on Susan's amendment. Susan, go ahead.
The troublesome part seems to be part 3, this multiple notice, which is quite nonsensical on the face of it, so I'm a little confused. So I can understand why people found that confusing. But I don't see why we're throwing baby out with the bathwater, if that makes sense.
Yes, if you can pass the mic over to Mac. And just for the mic etiquette, don't press the button. Just put it on the floor, or put it on the table, and we'll be good.
Okay, Mac Bratter, Mecklenburg County. I agree with what Susan's saying, but I'm not entirely certain it actually does it. I think the thing we really need to do, and I'm not sure where to do it, would be removing the option from delegates to national. I think that would solve 95% of the vote problem, and still allowing it for officer elections.
Okay.
How would it have modified that? I think that would solve most of the problem.
Yep. So if we do want to modify that, we'll have to come out of this modification section and then back into another one. So any other discussion on Susan's? Yes. So we'll do Sean and then Brad.
Well, information. I'm reading the rule, the original rule, and I don't see any reference to delegates to national. It seems like it only applies to positions on the executive committee or judicial committee. So there's no mention of delegates. I'm not quite sure why that would be why this would be an issue for delegates.
Please speak into the microphone. The section of our bylaws, which is Article 12, Section 8, speaks to National Convention delegates. And let's see. It does not specify a voting method for that. So if you look at our convention rules, it only says for any position on the executive committee or judicial committee. In elections with multiple winners, delegates can vote. So I believe last year we considered elections with multiple winners to be the election of delegates to national convention. Properly or improperly, we don't have a long history of it since we've only done it once. So I'm not going to rule that we had a history and tradition of doing so. It may be improper, but
I think we still need part 3 for doing at-large elections, so we probably shouldn't strike. We just should add something that says none of this applies to delegates national.
we cannot technically consider that right at this moment. In 30 seconds, we'll have run out of our 5 minutes. If the body desires to consider that, we could vote this down and move forward with that. Yes, Sean Haas.
I'm Sean Haas from Durham County. I rise to speak against the amendment. Twice at our last convention, I had to make a motion to override the effect of NOTA on not just the national convention delegates, but there was one other race where the result came out in a ridiculous way, and we had to amend it on the fly to include other people. I do think that in races where there are multiple people in judicial committee, EC at large, there is still a great potential for NOTA to give us an undesirable result that we will feel like we have to override the convention. So I would simply vote for the original proposal to strike all of NOTA from our bylaws, our convention rules.
All right, thank you, Sean. We actually have another 20 seconds if someone has something quick.
I was going to vote against my thing because what Mac said made sense, but then what Sean says makes me, again, want to get rid of 3 and keep the others.
Okay. We will figure that out. Lucas, if you can be quick. With the mic. Be quick, don't hurry. All right, here we go.
The part about multiple notas does seem needlessly confusing at any rate. Having node 1, node 2, node 3.
Thank you. Okay, we are at the 5-minute and 30-second of our 5-minute debate time. So we will have a straight. Let's see. Actually, let me just make sure I'm good here. If debate ceases, the chair should call for a vote. Failing a time extension, a vote will be taken on whether to bring the recommendation. A simple majority being required for the acceptance of an amendment. Okay, so a 50% vote in favor of Susan's amendment. Susan's amendment was to strike only section 3. All right. Are we all clear on this? Yes.
I do a quick request for information for the people who've been around a long time. I recall everything that happened last year. Is NOTA, have we ever had a vote where NOTA actually actually served its purpose and worked for it. And anyone who's been a long-time member and come to this thing for decades recall a situation where NODA actually gave us what we wanted. Just a question. Has it ever happened? Has it ever happened? Is my question.
I do not know, but I agree that it is an argument, so we'll just keep it tight. All right. So we'll go for a simple vote, or a majority vote. All in favor of Susan's amendment to strike only section 3, say aye. All opposed, say nay. I'm gonna say the nays had that, but we can do a standing vote. Okay, if 10 people object to this thing, if 10 people object, then we can have standing votes. So, all in favor of this amendment, I'm gonna say 10 people objected. All in favor of this amendment, raise your hand. Okay, I'm gonna look at you and then call your number, or point at you. So when I point at you, put your hand down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Did you just raise your hand? Let's do it again. Sorry. Okay. All in favor of Susan's amendment, raise your hand. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's all you. 6, 7. So that's both of you back there. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17 in favor. All opposed, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Never in doubt. Okay. Thank you. So, Susan's amendment failed. We are now 10 minutes into the debate time. We have... That's not true. Is that true? I guess it is true. We are 10 minutes into our debate time. So we have 5 minutes left. We can amend it for another 5 minutes if someone has... Yes, Bryce.
Bryce Acker, Pender County. I motion to move this to the end of all of our bylaw debates.
All right. Motion to table this until the end of the report. Is that what you're getting at here?
Yes.
To reconsider at the end of the report. By Bryce. Seconded. By a lot of people. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Okay. I think the nays might have had that one too. The good news about this is that should we not adopt this, then we automatically can reconsider it at the end. Which is Rule 5, Section 6. After all committee reports have received initial consideration. Oh, that's 7 actually. Finally, if time permits, proposal. I don't know. We'll figure it out later if need be. We can suspend the rules. Okay. We now have about 5 minutes left of debate on the original motion, an amendment, or there can be an amendment to that if needed. Yes, Ace, can you find a microphone? Or have a microphone find you? We'll go Ace and then Sean.
NODA has been part of the history of the Libertarian Party since the founding of the party. I mean, we can't get rid of it. I think it's insane to even think about getting rid of it. I don't know. I mean, Susan's amendment failed by 1 vote. I would like everyone just to reconsider that before adopting this. With all respect to Phil, his assessment that NODA is an amusing quirk and a novelty is just flat out wrong. NODA is an essential right that you have as a delegate to vote for none of those candidates. In the case of national convention delegates, I guess a NODA vote would be voting no on all of them, if that's how this ended up. But getting rid of NODA altogether should not be an option here, and it's just objectionable.
All right, thank you. We'll go Sean, and then Phil, I'll let you close it out if that works for you. Okay. We'll go Sean first, then Phil close it out.
Sean Hall, Durham County. I would like to answer Mr. Ulmer's question from before, and to my recollection, no. NODA has never really had any successful impact. Every time NODA has come through in an election, we realized it was an error and we corrected it on the fly.
All right, thank you, Sean. No. All right, go ahead, Phil.
It was working for.
This will work. It works. Just want to point out that one of the key points of the original that remains here is the phrase, that position, where is it? Okay, in number 1 under the old rule, that position shall be declared vacant. That's what happened. We declared some of the people who had been running to be national delegates not to be able to be delegates because their positions were declared vacant. Nobody could run. We didn't get votes at national, or would have not gotten votes had we not totally overruled the whole thing. So there's that, as well as all the complications that Rule 3 brings in, which were terrible complications. Those of you who were here last year hopefully remember some of that. And I endorsed Dave's comments also.
Trade, thank you. Okay.
I move to extend debate by 5 minutes. I believe that's
So
procedure.
it is technically in order. We can do it. We have met our 15-minute quota. It's 2/3 to extend time. I won't encourage you not to, but I'm just saying I think maybe our discussion's gone, but I'll let it over to the floor. So 2/3, Mac Browder moves to extend time by 5 minutes. Is there a second? This is a 2/3 vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. It is not 2/3. So we are 15.5 minutes into our 15 minutes of debate. So we shall move to a vote. All right. This is going to be a vote under Rule 5. So if debate ceases during the time allotted or a motion to call a question is adopted, the chair shall call a vote for the recommendation. The chair shall allow for a motion to extend time. Such motion 2/3. Failing extension, a vote will be taken on whether to bring the recommendation as amended, if this is the case, to a final vote. So we will go to a majority vote on whether to vote finally on this. So then we move on, correct. If a majority vote is against immediate consideration, the proposed recommendation shall be tabled for later consideration after all other recommendations receive a favorable majority from the a favorable majority vote from the adjunct committee have been proposed. So we are now a majority vote. If it passes, then we'll go to, I believe it's a 2/3 vote to adopt the rule. If it fails, we'll stick it at the back of the calendar and then we'll come back to it later. So, all in favor of considering a final vote on this rule change as adopted, it's not amended at all, but it's as proposed. All in favor vote aye. Aye. All opposed vote nay. Nay. I think the nays have it there. So, we will put this at the back of the calendar and waste more time on it later. Yes, thank you. We will then move to our next one. Thank you, Phil, for proposing that. The next amendment proposed was to exempt non-voting executive committee members from attendance. I think I proposed this one, so I'll explain it if you guys will let me.
Point of privilege,
We
Mr.
will
Chair.
review Barbara. Yes.
Would it be in order to make a blanket motion to accept number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 at one point?
I think it would be in order.
And if someone wants to remove one of those, I would accept it as a friendly amendment.
Because of Convention Rule 5, Section 3, upon a motion by any delegate, the convention may approve the entire committee report or a number of the committee's recommendations without further debate. So,
So to restate, it would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I think those are pretty non-controversial. 9 and 10 may have some question.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. That is seconded by Brad Hessel. I will give everyone just a moment to look at our table of contents and give a quick read over what those proposals are. I will just read them up here as well. So this was to adopt Rule 2, which was exempt non-voting executive committee members from attendance, remove redundant section on qualification of executive committee members, generalize the affiliate regions, add recognition and bylaw submission for affiliates, add affiliate convention requirement, change the removal of affiliate officers, remove redundant wording on membership, modernize Article 10 meetings. Is that one included? I think, yeah. And then that was it, right? Okay, sorry, so, excuse me. So it was from exempt non-voting until remove redundant wording. Notes for next year, put numbers next to those. All right. Hopefully you've all had a chance to read those, at least briefly. I don't know if anyone has any considerations. Ace said he was willing to maybe change those numbers just a little bit. Yes, Bryce, if you could find a microphone. Got them both up front. If you guys are trying to get my attention, I don't see you or I forget you, like I forgot Rob when he raised his hand 30 seconds ago, just come up to the front or find a mic that maybe the big one halfway back. But go ahead, Bryce.
Bryce, Pender County. I guess I motion to amend that amendment or motion to strike.
We technically can't amend motions to amend, but if you convince Ace to modify his amendment, then that's possible.
I'm going to try to convince you to modify your amendment. Is that in order?
Yes.
Okay. I think these are not numbered one, but so I think we're going to the exempt. That's fine. And the qualifications redundant. That's fine. I'd like more debate on the general affiliate regions as well as the recognition bylaws affiliates. Personally, I'd remove those two, and then the remove redundant wording. I personally think at least is actually a clarifying one on that one. So, okay, I think that's an easy one to talk about, but remove it from the.
You're fine.
From the friendly amendment on that.
Okay, so Ace, you can modify your motion to adopt in whole without further debate amendments 2, 3, 6, and 7. Okay. Does that have a second? Okay. So, well, so it changed anyways. So it would be 2 and 3, which would be exempt non-voting and remove redundant section on qualifications. And then add the convention requirement and then removal of affiliate officers. Yes, I'm just clarifying. Yes, Lucas.
So,
2, 3, 6, and 7.
I noted in the last one, it says next section has similar wording.
add at least to the other one?
So at this point, we're just looking at the number that we're going to try to consider.
Okay.
So we're not looking at specific.
Okay.
So if this does not pass, then we can get to that specific one. All right. I feel like I've delayed long enough for everyone to at least understand what's going on here. Let me double check this, because it is actually changing convention rules and bylaws, would be required to pass by a 2/3 vote, because that's the threshold for all of the individual votes inside of that. So, in accordance with Rule 5, Section 3, the convention may approve any number of the committee's recommendations without further debate. So this is a straight up 2/3 vote on whether to adopt Proposal 2, 3, 6, and 7. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. I think that's 2/3. If there are 10 people who object, we can go to a counted vote. But I think that's 2/3. So, not seeing any objections on that, a motion to save time has actually saved time. Look at that. Thank you. All right.
Today's miracle.
So, let me, yes, Barbara, the second one was because of you, but we love you. That's why we wanted to put it in there. Okay, so we are now moving on to the fourth. Yes, Phil.
Would you please read the numbers that were just taken
Yes.
care of again so I can check them off?
Correct. Sorry. So, I will read the title of the amendments that were adopted.
I've got it.
They were number 2, 3, 6, and 7, which were exempt non-voting executive committee members from attendance, remove redundant sections on the qualification of executive committee members, add convention, affiliate convention requirement, and adopt changes on the removal of affiliate officers. So, we are now on to generalized region reports.
The four that we just approved, I don't think they were the last two of the ones you mentioned, because I thought 6 was the removal of affiliate officers, and 7 was redundant wording on membership when I numbered them here on my sheet.
That was a failure on my part writing the report. Next year, I will encourage the person to put a number in front of them. Sorry. Yes. If there is a strong objection in the body that the vote we had was confusing and violated your rights, I'll be happy to do it again, but I think that we're all good. So, sorry about any confusion. Alrighty. Let's move on to number 4, generalized regional affiliates. Yes, James will scroll that down. Zach, technically, we have to do a presentation first, unless if this is about this bylaw. Go ahead.
Is there any definition of region that we're pointing to here? Is there, we're just going with common understanding, an area?
So the history and tradition of the LPNC has allowed multi-county parties to form a region, but it's never really been explicit. And so the region is sort of undefined as something that's not a county, a single county, or a precinct, because precinct is defined.
It doesn't explicitly exclude those things, does it?
You can have a multi-precinct region, but the only thing that's currently defined is a single county for a single precinct. So, did anyone from the bylaws committee actually want to do this one? Do you want to do this one, Sean? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, come on up if you don't mind.
All right. Let's see if can I have the other two microphones? Maybe I can get some really good feedback going on here now. Yes, well, we have, let me just go ahead and read the rationale written by the committee. Changes to make affiliates more general. The previous structure indicates precincts and counties, but if we win a partisan race, we need an affiliate formed around the corresponding district. There has been a rise of regional affiliates in more sparsely populated areas. This more general framework takes into account regional and district affiliates. Specifically, right now we have a Cape Fear regional affiliate. In the past, we have had an affiliate for the Cherokee Nation, the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. Also, there are laws that give us the ability to form congressional district committees. And so this simple change to the bylaws would give us more flexibility to recognize more kinds of affiliates on a geographically regional basis.
Yes.
Question. So when he says we, he means the EC would recognize these affiliate areas, these multi-county. So, okay. So the we would be the EC recognizes 4 counties as one or whatever. Okay. Yep. Just making sure I was on planet Earth. Thank you.
Yes. All right. So we are. Get a microphone, please. But we are now going into. Well, let's see. Actually, I have to read this rule every time. So, convention chair shall open the recommendation to discussion and restricted amendment for a period of time. I'm going to start our clock now at 15 minutes, and then we can have discussion and limited amendment. But go ahead.
I just want to make sure I understood the implications. So would that change, like delegates that could vote theoretically at this type of a convention, or who would go to the national? Like you're limiting the counties and everything. I just want to understand the implications of that. A little bit more information would be helpful.
Absolutely, great question. The way delegates are allocated is based on county. And so the way we've traditionally done this in the past is, say, in Franklin, Granville, Vance County affiliate that I am in, Granville is allocated 3 people, Vance is allocated 2, and Franklin is allocated 3. And so members from their own counties at their own level. So they don't group the affiliate number or the delegate numbers from there. It's just each county sends their own delegates, even if they're part of a multi-county affiliate. That's the way we've traditionally done it. It's not explicit. I think we do have a long history of it, so it would not. It's not changed in this. Correct. Yes, Nick Taylor.
Point of information, Nick Taylor, Nash County. Back what you're asking, similar to this morning, so we had like multiple people from certain counties. Usually we will allow them to vote in our state party. Federally, LNC, that's a little different, but traditionally in our state level, we'll definitely allow if we have extra people from Vance or Franklin, whatever county it may be. But just point of information.
Yes.
So, as a point of information, this would mean that when in doubt, the county level would supersede any regional for allocation of any resources or voting privileges and purposes. So in the absence of a singular county, if you have a multi-county, then the multi-county would then proportionally allocate based on the counties set in the superseding group. So say if Durham and Orange were back together again, it would be like Orange has 6 and Durham has 12.
Correct. Which, in these multi-county situations, usually you're not going to be running into delegate limits. Potentially you could be, but you're not usually going to be. I'm just trying to find here real quick. It is defined bylaws that delegates are sent from the counties. So Article 11, Section 2, county affiliates will select delegates. Each county affiliate is entitled to whichever is greater of 2 delegates or a number of delegates equal, whatever it is. Yes, then every non-affiliated county has 2. But yes, go ahead, John.
If I may, in my opinion, the only practical effect of passing this and recognizing multi-county affiliates, this line, if you let me, since the bylaws that talk about delegate allocation for the state convention are different, the only practical effect, I think, would be that counties that are in multi-county organizations or even in congressional district organizations that are acknowledged by the state executive committee would get more delegates. Because if you're unorganized, you get 2. But if you are organized, you get as many delegates as proportional to whatever the rules say about how delegates are allocated. So I think it just means that more people could become delegates from those counties that are in multi-county organizations.
Yes, Brett.
I'd like to propose an amendment.
Alrighty. What is your amendment?
So already in the top, it's not actually on the sheet, but in the bylaws itself, we do say the Libertarian Party of North Carolina may recognize local affiliate organizations of any kind. That's the very first sentence. So I would actually strike just precinct, county, or region. Well, region is the amendment. So just the amendment is to strike precinct or county and not define it, since we're saying we can do organizations of any kind. It shouldn't affect delegates because it's section 2. And it clearly says the county organizations will select delegates. So
just for clarification,
yes,
if you were to strike those words, you would be left with for any not yet recognized.
For any and add the word affiliate.
So you would like to amend it to read
for any affiliate not yet recognized.
For any affiliate not yet recognized.
And then we can keep the LPNC part, shortening that. I don't really care. And the 1, and then 2 would be it just says an organization, so that's fine. Convention is fine. I think the rest would be in line with that. So the amendment is to just strike precinct or county. So for any and add the word affiliate.
Okay. Is there a second to this?
Well, region's a new amendment, so yeah.
So, yes, the region's not there yet. So it would read for any affiliate not yet recognized.
Yes.
Second by Matthew Gordon. So we'll go to 5 minutes of debate. And I will start my clock now. And Bryce, if you want to speak on it more, you can, or we can open it up to the floor for debate. I'll just give you mover's privilege if you want. You're good. Okay. Is there any other debate on this yet, Brett?
I would be concerned that the term affiliate has traditionally referred to party organizations, that is to say something that is a party. I'm not sure that a precinct or a congressional district organization it would normally be considered to be an affiliate. I'm not sure that helps.
Okay. Is there more discussion on this amendment? Yes. Let's find a mic. The 2 people with their hands up. Mike Davis and John Hogg. Whoever gets mic first.
I'm just a point of order. Right, you mentioned it was referenced in another article, but I was trying to find it so I could see the wording.
Article 11.
Sean Durham County. I am speaking against the amendment. I think it's less clear. I think that what the bylaws committee has proposed here is more clear, and particularly, how can you be an affiliate before you can be an affiliate? That's a little confusing for me. I really think that the original proposal just has more clarity to it.
Rob in the back, but Bryce, if that's a major sticking point, if you could think of another word besides affiliate, then we could maybe consider that, but just... Okay.
Small A affiliate.
Thank you.
I just want to say,
Rob, yeah.
Bryce is leading the only group that has actually done this, and they appear to be really successful. Whatever he says, I got his back.
Let's find a mic. Yep. And if you haven't spoken before or haven't spoken in a while, just give your name and county. So.
Mac Broder, Mecklenburg County. Bryce, what if instead of using the word affiliate, any organization not yet recognized? I think that'll solve the problem. What the concern is that it may not technically be an affiliate. Like the thing that makes it an affiliate is being recognized. So if it's not yet recognized, it's not an affiliate. That's why we want to drop the word affiliate there and go to organization.
So, for any organization not yet recognized, is that acceptable to anybody in the body? Does anyone feel like we've been switched on this one? Okay. So we'll make sure this amendment is for any organization not yet recognized. So we have about a minute and a half left of further debate. If people would like further debate.
I'll defer to anybody else who has not yet spoken.
Sure. Name and county.
Thank you. Matthew Gordon from Wood County. Not talking about this amendment specifically, the changes as a whole.
You should be talking about the amendment specifically.
So then would there be time for me to speak about the page
Yes, after this is over. If you have something specifically about this amendment as it maybe relates to the whole, that's okay. We're focusing on the amendment right now.
Okay, then I yield.
Again, as Sean Durham County, and again, I rise to speak against the amendment. I do think it is important that these affiliates be regionally based. And if we make a general term such as organization, well, we can have the Beer Drinkers Caucus seek recognition.
I would support that.
I really see, but I really do think that for organizational purposes, that these should be based on geographic regions, such as precincts, counties, multi-county organizations, and congressional districts, or any region.
Okay. Yes, Ace.
Certainly. I do remember when the LPNC had affiliates that were college campuses. So how would that fit into here? It's more of a point of information.
Well, a lot of this is based on our history and tradition, which is what it is. I would believe that local affiliate organizations of any kind would include a college campus, but we're also debating whether or not to have precinct, county, or region, or organization. So our history and tradition, which does mean something when it comes to bylaws and whatnot, would allow for a college campus, even though it's not explicitly put in the bylaws here. Yes, Bryce, we are technically over time, but as the mover, I'll give you just a minute or two if you'd like to close it out. Microphone.
Thank you, Bryce Hacker, Panther County. Just again, this doesn't affect delegates because we clearly state Section 2, this county organizations select delegates. So it's just affiliates to the party, and I think less restriction gives the EC the ability to do at their discretion, like of organizations of any kind, which we clearly state in the first sentence. Okay. In such college campuses, then we don't have to debate is college campus or region.
Sure. Excellent. we are 7.5 minutes into our 5-minute debate. So, Bryce, just double check me here. The motion, your amendment, is to change only the first line to say, for any organization not yet recognized. Plus the rest of the amendment, but just change the top of the amendment, first section of the amendment, to say, for any organization not yet recognized, and then the following changes in the bylaw or the rule are as is. Okay. Let me read Rule 5 again. I'm the boss. Where are my rules at? Alright, so we go to a simple 50% simple majority vote on whether or not to vote on the amendment. Thank you, Brad. So, all in favor of a final vote, considering, well, a final, move to a final vote on this amendment, say aye. All opposed, nay. Alright, so we are now going to a final vote on Bryce's amendment. Let me see if this is 2/3 or majority. I believe it is just a majority. So, majority vote to adopt Bryce's amendment, first line saying for any organization not yet recognized, and the following changes.
Point of information, just to clarify, this is just a vote to adopt this amendment to the proposal. It is not actually adopting anything to the bylaw.
This is just adopting the amendment to the proposal. This is one level deep. We'll go back up to the top level, which is considering the amendment in whole. And this is just an amendment, this first section up here, the first line, really. So, any other questions? Hopefully we're clear now. Excellent. All in favor of adopting this amendment, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, that motion passes. So, we have adopted this amendment. And our awesome secretary is getting it fixed on the screen. It is fixed on the screen, isn't it? Right? So, the amendment is the same as was before, except for the first sentence says, for any organization not yet recognized, any party members may organize an affiliate. And then the other changes are as is in the amendment. Technically, we're at our 15 minutes of debate due to all the administrative time trying to figure out what we're actually debating on. If someone really wants to, we can move to extend time. However, there is some debate, there may be no more debate, and we can move to a final amendment. So, or final vote on adopting the amendment. Is there a motion to extend time on the floor for this? Okay, we'll find a microphone for Lucas, and then we can go back to Zach. Back.
Motion to extend time.
All right. We're limited by 5 minutes by rules, so motion to extend by 5 minutes. That made, seconded. Is there any objection to this?
Yes.
Yes, there's an objection to this. All in favor of moving 5 more minutes? It would require 2/3. So, motion to extend time discussion for 5 minutes. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Did not extend time. So, motion.
Question.
Call the yes. We are already on there. So, we have run out of allotted time. The chair shall ask for motion. It failed. A vote will be taken on whether to bring the recommendation to a final vote. So, a majority vote on whether to have a final vote on implementation. All in favor of moving to a final vote, say aye. All opposed, nay. All right, we will move to a final vote on this amendment. This amendment requires a 2/3 vote to pass. All in favor of adopting the amendment as proposed, say aye. All opposed, say nay. That is clearly 2/3. So, moving right along, we are, well, we have passed that one. All right, thank you. So, we are on to to 5, which is ad recognition and bylaws submission for affiliates. Did anyone from the bylaws committee want to present this one, or should I just roll with it? We should have figured this out ahead of time. Number 5, ad recognition and bylaws submission for affiliates. Alrighty, I will roll with this one then. So this is a change to our bylaws. In the same sort of section that we were just working on here. Okay. This would modify Article 11, Section 7 of our bylaws and add Section 8 to our bylaws. Section 7 would read, an affiliate may adopt its own plan of organization or bylaws, added, so long as there are no violations of the bylaws and convention rules of the LPNC. It would then add the following. Affiliates without published bylaws or plan of organization will defer to the bylaws of the LPNC. It would add Section 8 reading, recognition of all local organizations must be approved by a majority vote of the LPNC Executive Committee. Withdrawal of recognition requires a 2/3 majority vote of the LPNC Executive Committee. The rationale behind this one would be that the revision would leave the wording alone for the first line and call out that new affiliates are held to be to the published LPNC bylaws if they have not adopted their own, and must submit their bylaws or plan of organization should they create one. I will give just a brief further explanation of this one if you'll allow for it. Basically, there are a couple sections in the LPNC bylaws that define requirements for local affiliates. Some of them being that you must be a Libertarian Party of North Carolina member to serve on a state or local affiliate committee. There are a couple requirements for when you can hold convention and what your notice must be. But the actual requirements that the state designates to the affiliate are quite small. If the case of the affiliate who does not have their own bylaws, they'll be subject to those bylaws only. And then if they would like, they may write their own bylaws and then submit them to the party secretary, as is already required by our bylaws. So let me just double check this to make sure I got the exact wording correct. However, if a affiliate has bylaws, they're not required to have them. But if they have them, they must be submitted to the secretary and confirm that they're not in conflict. Let's see. Yeah, that is section 11, Article 11, section 1.7. Affiliate may adopt. So those are what it is currently. Hopefully that I didn't stumble through too much of that, and you can read the other rationale there. So I will open up now for 15 minutes of debate and amendment time. I'm going to go to Rob, and then I'll go to you, David.
Can I motion to amend one of these?
You can move to amend, yes.
I move to amend that withdrawal of recognition requires unanimous consent or unanimous opinion of the executive committee.
So you would move to amend so that the last line would read, withdrawal of recognition requires unanimous vote of the LPNC Executive Committee. Is that what I'm understanding?
I would like to make a friendly amendment to his amendment to make it 7/8 and not unanimous.
We have 7 members of the Executive Committee, and
6/7.
If you will allow me to figure out what 7/8 is, it is 0.875, and 6 out of 7 would be 0.857. So you could either do 6 out of 7 or majority. Rob, you would take 6 out of 7. So, let me just read this and make sure that's clear. Withdrawal of the recognition requires, let's just say, strike a 2/3 and add 6 out of 7 majority vote of the LPNC Executive Committee. Does that make sense? Yes, ma'am. Can we get Barbara a mic? They need 0.57% of the people on the executive committee. Barbara asked, what if the executive committee is not full?
I still have my question. I'm supposed to be next. Not pushing.
Yes.
So, serious question was this driven, before we got into motions, I just didn't understand, was this driven by an actual situation occurred, or is this just a word cleanup in the bylaws?
So there's...
You had problems with this, where this is needed.
Problem is not necessarily the right word, but it was unclear exactly who was an affiliate. And so we can go back and look at our minutes. We just take the affiliates as we have, we look at our minutes, we can then know going forward and coming back. All right. Yes, Ace.
Ace Forwards in Franklin County. Just following up on what Barbara said, it would make more sense to just put a percentage number in here rather than 6 out of 7, because at some point you could say, hey, let's make the executive committee 11 people,
2/3 is just a fractional representation of the actual reality. So you could make it 6/7, I believe is what we were going for here.
Maybe just say 85%.
Which could be 4 members, and because quorum is 4 people. It could be 4 members then. I'm just saying it,
It would still be 6/7.
It could still be 6/7.
Are you saying it has to be 6 of the 7 members, or it needs to be 6/7 of
Rob,
whoever?
did you intend for it to be 6 out of 7 or 6/7? Though I know you intended it to. So it must be a total of 6 votes. Yes, it's debate. Let's give it to Zach because he's waiting patiently for a microphone.
6 out of 7 mathematically is about 85%. If you put 6 out of 7 in there, you're saying 85%. If somebody resigns and there's 6 people on the board, that means it has to be unanimous because 5 out of 6 is 85%. Or 83%, excuse me, it's lower. So, I don't think it's a good approach in the first place. If we want to do unanimous and there can be one objection, that's fine. It gets to be cumbersome as far as wording, as far as including these numbers in. There's a reason they do majority or 2/3, like 6 out of 7 is nonsense.
All right, thank you. It will allow the chair to influence discussion. I personally like the unanimous, but we'll move with whatever it is. Yes, Thomas White.
From Guilford County. Rather than focusing on how many it takes to disaffiliate them, why don't we focus on how many it takes to dissent from disaffiliation? So let's say if more than one dissent, then it can't happen.
Okay, so that's definition unanimous. So, if more than one dissents, it is by definition not unanimous. If it is unanimous, then it is all members present. Which, if you look at, if it's majority, could be 3 out of 5. Because quorum is 4 members, so unanimous would have to be 4 out of 4, or unanimous could be 6 out of 6, or 7 out of 7, or you could meet 2/3 by having 6 people in 4 vote in favor. So the math is all sort of funny, but unanimous is clear that everyone voting and present has to agree to it. But yes, go on, Bill. If you can find a mic for Bill.
I don't usually agree with Thomas. That seems reasonable. That's all. Oh, I'm talking about or he has about more two or more. I think that's pretty fair.
So, let me try and tighten this back up. We are 6 minutes into our 5-minute discussion on the amendment. The amendment being the final sentence would read, withdrawal of recognition requires 6/7 as a fraction, not out of 6, not 6 out of 7. We're discussing it exactly. So we are now at the end of our limited debate. Withdrawal of recognition requires a 6/7 majority vote of the LPNC Executive Committee. If we approve this, we'll go back to the main motion with this as the amendment. If we do not approve this, we'll go back to the main motion without this approval. All right. So we are out of time. This is a majority vote to adopt the amendment to replace 2/3 with 6/7. All in favor? Aye. All opposed say nay. The nays have it. So we will move back to the main motion as previously written, 2/3 majority. That being said, we still have 9 minutes for debate and discussion or limited amendment. So, Brad Hessel up front.
1 second.
A point of information, if this passes, would it grandfather in existing recognized affiliates, or would they need to go through the approval process, which in practical purposes would mean already recognized affiliates could be eliminated by a majority vote, because that's what it takes to approve them.
Currently in our bylaws, there is no specific affiliation or disaffiliation process. There's a process to remove officers, but not affiliates. Spoiler alert, I'm running for chair again. If it would make you all feel happy, the first thing we'll do, if we close the convention, if I win chair, I will hold a small executive committee meeting and approve all affiliates as needed. However, I think that this would grandfather in all affiliates. I believe that was the intent of, so basically freeze our affiliates as recognized right now. And then any addition, we would have to vote on, and any removal, which there is no reason to remove any affiliate at the moment. Any removal will require 2/3 as currently proposed. Hopefully that's clarifying. Can we get Daniel Kavner in the back?
I'm just going to throw out a suggestion here. Daniel Kavner, by the way, Davidson County. If we're kind of trying to figure out like what ratio percentage we should get, maybe we could meet in the middle, 75%, 3/4.
To answer the question, it is, if it were specified as a motion to amend that was different than 6/7, it would probably be in order, but yeah, there you go. Bryce, did you seek to be recognized? For it.
I moved that amendment to add the word new to remove clarity that we have to approve existing affiliates.
Lovely. So we are entering 5 minutes of,
well, seconds.
Is there a second? Let me just read it for clarification. Bryce would like to insert into
recognition of all new local
Section 8, recognition of all new local affiliates must be approved by majority vote. All right, we will move into 5 minutes of discussion, and if needed on that amendment, is there any discussion on that? Excellent. All right, let's go to a majority vote since there seems to be no discussion on Bryce's amendment to the proposal, which states recognition of all new local organizations must be approved by majority vote. So, all it is adding the word new to make it clear. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, nay. Motion passes with unanimous consent. All right, we have 3 more minutes left on this amendment, which now reads recognition of all new local organizations. Is there any further commentary on the amendment as proposed, or any proposed amendments to the proposal? I'll give you 10 more seconds while you know drink water. Doing my best Marco Rubio impression. All right. Then, since there's no more discussion on that, we will move to a... Yes. We don't have to vote to vote. I told you, Barbara, that's better than I was. I was going to have to read that one, and we waited 15 minutes for that. All right. Since discussion has died down, we will move on an immediate vote to adopt this proposal as written. It is a 2/3 vote to pass. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, the ayes have it. Excellent. Thank you, guys. That's good. We are moving along. All right. Let's double check that my notes. We haven't gone through this one already. All right. We have, yes, exactly. We have adopted the affiliate convention requirement. And we have adopted removal of affiliate officers. So, we're on to number 8, removal of the redundant wording on membership. James Higgins, you haven't spoken much at this convention. You proposed this. Would you like to speak to this or not? As secretary, you can do whatever you like. I just want to get everyone involved. Make sure you get your money's worth.
So this is a straight up simple one to just get a little clarification. When you read this through, having the at least in there is just kind of a confusing little bit of information. It's really as simple as that, just removing that. If you look at all the wording, at least is implied anyway. So that was it. It's just removing at least from the current bylaw. So a resident of North Carolina may become a member of the LPNC provided they are not a registered voter affiliated with another political party, and by fulfilling one of the following criteria. Obviously, if you fulfill more than one of those criteria, you are still a member. So that's really it.
Alrighty.
I would like to move to call the question on this one.
Ooh. You may or may not be people's favorite person. All right, let me just get my time just in case. We are starting debate an hour and 27 minutes in. Matt Clemens moves to call the question.
All right, Matt Clemens, Orange County.
Matt Clemens, Orange County. Is that seconded? That is seconded. There's no discussion on calling the question. As a bad parliamentarian, I forgot to check if calling the question is a majority vote or a 2/3 vote. So if you give me just half a second. I believe it's majority. Not because anyone hinted at it. Thank you, Barbara. But I will just ask for a vote, and if it's close enough, I'll double check it. So all in favor of calling this question, which would have the effect of going straight to a vote on whether to adopt a vote on whether to if anyone would like to volunteer for the committee to launch 5 next 2 years, let me know. If debate ceases or a motion to call the question is adopted, the convention shall call for a vote on the recommendation. It appears that this is the same thing we were rolling under in debate season last time, so we will go to an immediate. Unfortunately, that's not where we're at. The calling the question is not debatable. So, if you would like to have the rest of our discussion time on this, you can vote against this amendment. If you would like to against on the question, we're going to go call a question. If the vote passes, we're going to go straight to a vote to adopt. Or if it fails, we will go back to our limited discussion amendment time. So, all in favor of calling the question, say aye. All opposed, say nay. That is a 2/3 vote to call the question. That motion passes. Their bylaws and the convention rules allow for a standing vote if there are 10 members of the body who request it. I do not see 10 other members of the body requesting a standing vote. So, we will not do a standing vote. We will move straight to a vote on the adoption of the amendment. So, 2/3 vote in favor of adopting the amendment as proposed. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. That, I believe, did not pass 2/3. So, if there are 10 or more members who would like a standing vote, we can go to a standing vote. I think it obviously did not reach 2/3, but I will respect the will of the body if needed. So, that is to the back of our calendar. Now, let me double check the rules here because we have something that allows I don't know. Yes, let me, I'll think. Okay. Let me double check my notes. James, do you remember which amendment did not receive favorable report? Was it NODA at the very beginning? Okay. Oh, good. I had a dilemma about where to go, but I have another proposal to go to while I figure out the rest. So we'll put that previous amendment on our backlog, which is the remove redundant wording. We now have a final amendment proposed by the committee. Yes. While technically there are two proposals left in the paper, one was not proposed by the committee. It was included as a courtesy to save bread printing costs because we already had a page there. So the final report by the committee, the final amendment, is modernize Article 10 meetings. James, you may have gotten your money's worth already. I can read this one as well, but you proposed this one. Would you like to read it or no? Okay. So, Article 10 meetings, it would be a proposal to remove the words by postal mail. It would be a amendment to remove the phrase by postal mail and add the phrase by other methods approved by a majority vote of the executive committee. And then would also remove the phrase electronically or by mail. Basically, mail voting is unrealistic in 2025. I don't know when this bylaw was introduced, but it's been here for a while. Probably since the 70s. Yes, thank you, Barbara. The new wording allows for the executive committee to decide whatever methodology is best to take votes. transactions. Basically, all the stuff's online, and if someone were really pedantic or whatever, they could request a mail vote, and it would technically be in order. And we're just going to remove that option just so that it's agnostic. People can vote online, by phone, by Zoom, by Mattermost, whatever it is. And if we really decide that we want mail, we can approve it as an executive committee. So I am going to start my clock now on 15 minutes of limited debate and discussion. Does anyone have any discussion on this or an amendment? Yes, sir. Can we get a mic to Bob? Name and county since the first time.
Bob Drock, New Haven County. If you're meeting face to face, do you have to have that approved by the executive committee as a form of voting before you can vote? I mean, I'm just kind of being silly, but it's, if you want to be broad, be broad.
I understand where you're coming from.
Just to clarify, this is specific to votes within the EC by my understanding of the bylaws. So it is specifically when EC is taking votes. This is the only time that applies. So it does not affect affiliates or in person.
So his question leads more to the fact that if the executive committee decided to meet after convention, would we then have to approve face-to-face voting meeting after convention? If you read Article 10, Section 1, the executive committee may or shall meet at times and places as determined by the actions of the committee, by call of the chair or written request, or by 1/3 or more of the committee. Technically, we could meet by call of the chair and have a 14-day notice prior to the meeting. The transaction of official business here is where I'll just let Barbara speak. Go ahead.
Point of information. This is probably another one of those dinosaur rules when the executive committee used to meet in person every 6 weeks, and it's some matter came up in the middle of that 6-week period where we want to try to get together, we might have to have a mail vote. But I don't ever recall us having a mail vote. So the postal is one of those dinosaur things that still exist.
I think the intent here was just to clean up some of this language that just says we can meet how we need to, and not specifically to define the only ways we can meet. I suppose the first executive committee meeting may technically not be allowed to be in person until we allow to be voted on in person, but I think our history and tradition allows us to meet in person and have it be valid. So, all right. Any other discussion or amendment on this? Thank you, Mac. I agree. Discussion has died down.
Actually, we have two different sheets, but I think mine might be an old one. To clarity on Bob's point, mine says without meeting together. We strike that in the last year or so. The transaction of official business, mine reads the executive committee may, without meeting together, transact business, which would clear up Bob's point, but I don't see that in Kim's bylaws. Can we read the official? Okay, I guess that's the current one right there. So it does not have James in person. Oh well, I guess that clears that. So so it is unclear, Bob, because we struck in-person meetings from the bylaws apparently.
Before we continue, I'm very sorry. Everyone turn to the first page of their bylaws, and someone please tell me if there's something that says 2021 on the top as opposed to March of 2023.
I think that's 21. Let us know. We'll get you to 23.
Does anyone else have a 21? All right, Bryce, it was personal, but it's Rob's fault.
Yeah. Thanks, Rob. I guess point of clarity, does anyone want to fill me in on why we removed the in-person clause? Was that controversial? I know we weren't meeting in person, but
I think it was a further attempt to just generalize them.
okay. So I think we're still in now an unclear state, like Bob pointed out.
Yeah.
Personally.
So I think the reason, I can go back and read the report. I believe the reason is that the it basically said we can only transact business in person is what the sort of the reading was, which is clearly not what we had been doing. But if you want, I can pull up the report. You feel the need to pull up the report? Okay. Did everyone verify that they had the correct bylaws that were dated in 2023 March? He was asking clarification because he had a bylaws report that was stuck in from 2 years previous. So I think we've clarified that everyone else fortunately had the correct bylaws and he unfortunately had missing bylaws. We then reached deep into why, which I suppose may be out of order, which I understand. Sorry for doing that, but I think you are correct in the fact that it's sort of extra at this point. So let me refocus us where we are. Thank you for keeping me honest. Let's see. We are 9 minutes into our 15 minutes of debate and discussion on this amendment. It is still open for debate. It is still open for amendment. Is there anyone that has any further motions, comments, questions, information, anything else? Sorry for the confusion. Okay, if it has died down, and it seems that it has, we will go to an immediate vote on this proposal. This will be a 2/3 vote to adopt the proposal as presented, that amendment. So, all in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. All right, unanimously, that motion is approved. Okay, let me reread Article 5 here real quick. After all adjunct committee recommendations have been received initial consideration, any delegate may propose amendments. It's not exactly clear what that means by amendments. I believe that could be amendments to the platform, and even every year, or amendments to the bylaws and rules in an odd year. If the committee allows that, if the body allows that interpretation, it would be now for Brad to come up and have up to 2 minutes to state and explain his proposal, and then debate and voting will be prescribed as we have done previously. And then if the body does not check them. Brad the floor first. Anyone after that can propose their own amendments, but then, all right, if the body allows that, Brad, would you like to come up and present?
Brad Wake County, and I would like to propose a change to the membership pledge. This is one of the criteria that we utilize to become a member of the Libertarian Party. This is true on the national level as well as on the state level. It's on our website, and basically check a box and say that you pledge not to support the initiation of violence in pursuit of social or political change. My amendment is to add the word economic so that we would be pledging not to support initiation of violence in support of economic, political, or social change. The reason for this is because our biggest philosophical opponent on the left side, the Marxists and the socialists, their whole shtick basically is they support violence in pursuit of control of the means of production. Marxism essentially considers itself an economic movement, an economically based movement. And by leaving out economic change as one of the criteria, we're implicitly supporting that, which is we shouldn't be doing. We should stop. So I would like to clarify our pledge by including the word economic. Now, a couple of things that folks have raised is one thing is that political or social in some cases actually includes economic. Okay, that may or may not be true objectively, but subjectively, the Marxists don't consider that. If you look at it on the screen, yeah, there's a bunch of definitions of communism that basically show that their point of view is an economic movement. So clearly, if we're trying to reach people that are looking at socialism or communism as an option, we want to make it clear that we don't support violence in support of that movement. This would mean that our pledge would be different from the Nationals pledge. I think the Nationals pledge is wrong too, and if this passes, I'll probably work on getting that fixed. But this is where I'm starting. So that's all. That's my statement.
All right, thank you, Brad. Just a second. I will open it up for 15 minutes of debate and amendment. There is debate. Let me go Ace in the front and then Sean second. Are you?
Where is it on the board? I'm trying to. Okay, it's on the right.
Yes, it's on the very bottom of your convention pack.
Yeah, everybody has it on your printed form on the very, very end. It was added to the report to save printing costs, not have a supplemental sheet.
Point of information, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Ace Flowers of Franklin County. Because this is not part of the committee report, I think it would require a motion before we have debate.
So technically, this is operating under Rule 5, Section 7, which is if time permits Rule 5, Section 6. After all adjunct committee recommendations have received initial consideration, any delegate may propose amendments. And I'm reading that to amendments to either the platform in a platform here or bylaws and rules in this here. The delegate receives 2 minutes to explain, and procedure is the same as the previous report. So I don't think it needs a motion, and we'll just consider this as the same section, Rule 5, Section 4.
Point of information.
Yes.
Sean, Durham County. Brad, you answered half of my question already about national. Do you know of any other state party or any other libertarian organization that has made this change? Or would we be the first?
We would be the first to move things in the correct direction.
First in flight, baby.
First in freedom, too.
All right, we still got 13 minutes left to debate. Yes, Matthew Gordon up front, if we can get a mic to him.
Matthew Gordon, Wayne County. I'll make this quick. Just want to point out that not myself, but there are some self-proclaimed libertarians who don't believe in property rights. See themselves as a left-wing libertarian. And to them, they would want to join the party, but then be opposed to this theoretically. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
My comment, I think, pursuing Lucas County. To add to that, I think precisely that's a good reason to do it, to keep such people out of the party.
Mac Browder, Bickle County, just point of information, because it's just the bylaws wording, change this up on the voting yes on this, also actually change the pledge, or is that going to have to be separate? Okay, just we'll check it, because it was just the
Voting yes would change the pledge to remove the first or, add the correct comma, and then add the second or.
Awesome, just because it's just.
I think what you're pointing at here, which I just realized, is that economic goals should be underlined. I think is what you're. Is that true? That is part of the confusion. I am very sorry. I did this report. You can blame me. Can we get a microphone to Barbara up front?
Well, the national pledge doesn't include the word economic. Brad wants to correct that. But, so, a person who has signed the national pledge, but not signed North Carolina's pledge, are they still a member?
Membership in North Carolina is defined as maintaining voter registration in North Carolina, dues with the LNC, membership dues with an affiliate established by the executive committee, or membership dues with a recognized affiliate of the LPNC, or written or electronic affirmation that they do not advocate the initiation of force to achieve political, social, or political goals.
So, if we change ours,
It does not appear that it
that if
would-
somebody has signed nationals, they cannot be a member of North Carolina.
The answer to that question is yes, you would still be a member because one of the criteria is being a member of the National Party. So if you're a member of the National Party, you're good.
Yes, excellent. Thank you, Brad.
Point of exclamation is the note portion of it part of this amendment. I assume
I think you potentially could get away from that if you had a resolution from the body, but I'm not exactly sure. So,
I did consult some bylaws people, and they said I had to put this in the bylaws. That resolution would not suffice. If the bylaws didn't state it, then the resolution is not going to defeat the bylaws.
Steve DeFiore, Mecklenburg County. Got a quick question. So, no violence in the pursuit of economic goals. In the past, when Marxists were actually advocating for social change in the Russian Empire, the Tsarist social police, the Okhrana, they would basically do union busting because unions were seen as economic violence because they got in the way of production, they got in the way of factories operating for the Tsar the way they wanted. With this wording, would it be considered pursuing acts of political violence, or sorry, acts of like maybe not peaceful, coercion, whatever, violence, whatever you want to use, if you were involved in pro-union activities?
Well, of course, it's always up to the interpreter, but basically speaking, I don't think any reasonable person would consider a strike to be violence.
Reasonable person, indeed.
as libertarians, are we reasonable? That is part of the question. Thank you, Sean. All right. We are only 7 minutes into our 15 minutes of discussion. If discussion has died down, I don't see if anyone is wanting to discuss further. Okay, I'm just going to pretend I did not hear the call to question vote, and I'm going to rule that debate has ceased. So, thank you, Daniel. body, it's just two-thirds votes instead of one, so that's all it is. So, since debate has died down, we will go to an immediate consideration of this proposal as displayed. Would remove the first or, add a correct comma, and then add the phrase or economic, including the phrase, note, having submitted the previous version of the NIOF pledge, which admitted economic prior to 19 May 25 will still be considered valid criteria for the LPNZ. So you can still sign the old pledge for 2 days. But, okay, we're going to immediate consideration, or sorry, excuse me, an immediate vote on this amendment. 2/3 vote to pass. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All right, the ayes have it. So, that is adopted. We have 24 minutes until we are scheduled to break for lunch. I have 2 bylaws proposals, or rules proposals, that did not initially receive favorable adoption from the proposal, or from the body. Let me just verify with my rules here. I'm pretty sure that means we can bring them up at the end of ours if we've met all the other ones. So, from my understanding, this would mean we bring back NODA. It does not have a time limit on it. I don't think. Please don't go long. Let's get both of them done within 24 minutes. We can go to lunch. Yes, Mac Crowder.
Mac Ryder, Mecklenburg County. I have a proposal to, I'd like a motion to amend the NODA proposal to strike the first 2 words in section 3 and replace them with in any election mentioned in section 1. While that does not fix every problem with it, it does absolutely make it clear that NODA does not apply to elections for delegates to national, which was the problem we had last time. And while we still have some multi-winner votes there for at large and for JC, which are much smaller, much more manageable, and if I remember correctly, we did not have a problem with last time, and it seems very unlikely that we will have a problem with them. And if we do have a problem with them, those vacancies can be filled by the EC and the JC. So we don't actually have to act on it if the problem comes up in convention. The members of the EC and the JC who did get elected can fix it.
Before we get too far into debate, can you clarify the exact wording of your motion? In any election mentioned in bylaws in Rule 9, Section 1. You're editing on the wrong side. Mac, just for clarification, would this be not striking out section 1 and 2? Okay. Just 1 second. Seconded. Let me just pause here for a second just so we can get the clarity displayed. So, the first words of section 3 would be remaining, actually. Mac, can you explain clearly to James what you mean? So once he knows, then I know. Sure.
So just to clarify for people with faded memories like myself, twice in 2024 we had to vote to suspend the rules, which is always a bit of a show to begin with. First for the NODA candidates to be our alternates. Then we voted to suspend the rules again when electing a slate of judicial candidates because we feared that would also turn into a mess. So twice in 2024 we wasted a significant amount of time suspending the rules in relation to NODA. Those were the 2 events, and it wasn't something that we could just pass off to the EC to handle. We had to suspend the rules to do that.
I believe that is correct.
Which is why I always joke about suspending the rules, because it was a solid hour and a half of suspending the rules and explaining why we needed to suspend the rules.
Yes, and since they're still clarifying, I'm going to remind the body that we did manage to go through 2023 without suspending the rules, I believe. So,
Town Hall, Durham County. I rise against the amendment because I'm.
If you just actually would give me just a second, since I think it's clear what the amendment is, I just want to state it, and then you can argue against it.
Please.
So, Mac has moved to not strike the entire section 9, Rule 9, but merely to amend point 3 to now read, in any election mentioned in Rule 9, Section 1, which would be positions of Executive Committee, Judicial Committee. There's a comment there that shouldn't be. Anyways, Executive Committee and Judicial Committee. Is that correct? Okay. Yep. Sean, go on.
Well, it seems redundant with part 1, but I rise against the amendment simply because I'd like to take another shot at getting rid of the whole thing.
Okay. I did not take good timekeeping notes, so I'm going to say that we've been debating this for 5 minutes, which means we have 10 minutes left. Ace, and then Mac.
Ace Robertson, Franklin County. I just state that NODA is a core element of our party, and it's a unique element. No other political structure in the world has this as an option. I would be absolutely against getting rid of it altogether. Anything we can do to fix it so that we don't have the same kind of problems, I'm for, but I will not support getting rid of it.
Thank you.
Brad Mecklenburg County, for all those of you who want to get rid of it entirely, you don't have the votes. You're not going to get rid of it. This will help fix it so it's less of a problem for you. It is what it is.
Thank you, Mac. Let's keep it specific to the amendment. Bob.
So I was fortunate to be able to be a delegate at the last national convention, and I think in the last round of voting for president, we had the possibility of not having a presidential candidate. And if you think that's a good thing, then you should keep NODA. And if you think that's pure chaos and we want to avoid that, then that's probably the argument against NODA, right?
As somebody who was president at convention at 11:45 when we finally selected our presidential candidate, it could have been fun going to 2 a.m. You know, yes, Lucas.
Also, given how unimpressive the results of that candidate were, it might have been better to have no candidate whatsoever.
Fight.
Yeah, I am going to rise to strike that from the thing and
that's fine.
Whatever.
That's not necessary, I don't think. Let's keep it tight here. Let's keep it to Mike.
More of a parliamentary question. It seems like what maybe would work best, I don't know how to do parliamentarily, would be to first vote on NODA as it was proposed, and then if that fails, vote on Mac's proposal for at least an improved version of the NODA. I don't know if there's a way to how to do that. There's a way to do that. But I was just going to throw that out as, maybe a way to do.
I'm going to stumble through this until Barbara tells me I'm right or wrong. I don't think that's necessarily possible. I think we have yeah, exactly. I think we have a motion on the floor to reconsider it. We've already considered it first. We voted down the initial. I think we're now sort of in the section of a little bit of a free-for-all. So, I don't know. I think if we voted down again, we might be able to propose an amendment, but I'm not sure that we'll really have the votes for it. I mean, I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other. I'm just saying if we voted down twice, I don't know what the appetite is. I'm not trying to persuade you one way or the other. That's just my understanding. I think it might technically be in order to suspend the rules if it's voted down, to reconsider it for a third time. But, yeah. Rule 5 is not explicitly clear on how the procedure is to reconsider it. All right. That being said, yes, ma'am. The initial proposal, as written in your document, is to strike the entirety of Rule 9. Mac is proposing that instead of striking the entirety of Rule 9, we keep Rule 9 as is, except for Section 3. The first sentence of Section 3 would read, in any elections or any election mentioned in Rule 9, Section 1, which would have the effect of saying, for any election for executive committee or judicial committee. With multiple winners. So actually, technically, it would only apply to the at-large position of the executive committee and the entirety of the judicial committee. Yes. So the effect of this would mean that in any election for the at-large position or the judicial committee, with multiple, which are races with multiple winners, delegates can vote for nodal 1, 2, 3, etc., up to the number of positions in the election. Yes, Phil Jacobson in the back.
I'd like to remind people what happened last year included in the rules that we were using in the beginning, the notion the nota could receive from one person more than one vote. It's the same as if one individual could receive more than one vote. So when nota won at that convention, it was because of the multiple votes that it received. No one intended that. We still have a problem at the bottom. I can see what Mac is trying to achieve, and it may indeed be better than what we have, but the worst of the worst is still embedded in the rules as they were interpreted in number 3. And as Dave pointed out, it guarantees a waste of an hour reversing something that nobody ever wanted in the first place. At any stage in the history of this party, nobody wanted it to function that way.
All right.
Point of information.
Yes.
Is Phil suggesting that votes for nota 1, nota 2, and nota 3 would all be combined into one total? Because I don't think that's the intent of the rule. Well, that strikes me that there's no point in having nota 1, nota 2, nota 3. You're going to combine them. They're intended to be, in effect, placeholder candidates, because you could vote for up to 5 candidates. If you want to do nota for everybody, you've got to have 5 nota votes, but that doesn't mean that it's a total of 5. It means it's 1 for nota 1, 1 for nota 2, 1 for nota 3.
Nevertheless, they were combined.
Well, that seems to me that would be a procedural error, not a fault of the rule.
Here we go. By note, reading the minutes of last convention, there were elections, and there was a nota, I believe it was nota 1, who ranked ahead of an alternate who was not sure that they were going to attend the convention. But because of that, because a nota ranked higher than a person, we had to give up one of our slots. So the reality was is that as soon as that we realized this, Mr. Hall made a motion to suspend the rules and place this delegate as the last alternate to the LNC convention. And so that passed without objection. That was the recall or the retelling of how that happened in 2024, just for clarification. Okay, we have 10 minutes till lunch. I think if we try real hard, we can get through the next one too, but that requires going through this one. So, is there any? I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that, and if anyone has any further questions or comments or amendments, we can hear those. But hearing no more comments
or final comment, we've again wasted more time on nota than anything else, and doing something wrong for years and years and years doesn't make it right.
Thank you.
It just makes it continuation of silly.
Thank you. As there were no more questions or comments, we will now proceed to a final vote on the adoption of Mac's proposed amendment as displayed on screen, which would not strike Section 1 and 2 as presented in your book, and would amend Section 3 to in any elections mentioned in Rule 9, Section 1 with multiple winners. Delegates may vote for nota 1, 2, 3, etc. up to the number of delegate positions in an election. Delegates should prioritize voting nota on the lowest suffix. being adopted, 2/3 vote. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. 2/3 vote in favor passes. So that is now our Rule 9. Let me explain the fun part of this. Those take effect next convention unless we suspend the rules this convention. Anyways, moving on. Yes, sir.
We adopted the amendment, but we have not adopted the actual bylaws change yet, I believe.
If that was unclear, we can do it again. Sorry, you're right. Well, technically, debate had ceased, so we should have gotten to immediate consideration. But I will not overrule the body there. Let's do it again, just to be clear. Let's go for a simple 50% majority vote to move to a final consideration of Mac's amendment, just so everyone's clear.
No, we had to vote to accept the amendment, which passed, and now I think we go straight to a vote on whether or not to take the amended proposal and put it in the bylaws.
Okay. If that's correct, then so be it. So, let's just do it again, just to be clear. Because I understand what you're saying, but it doesn't be clear. Majority vote to go to final consideration for the amendment. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. All right, ayes have it. Let's go now to a 2/3 majority vote to adopt the amendment as proposed on screen and actually put it into our rules. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Okay. So Rule 9 is now this as adopted. Okay. We have 7 minutes until lunch. I think we can be quick. If we previously had the membership clarification question, which would simply change the phrase and strike at least from the following criteria. James, did you want to represent this, or did anyone have? Yes. Go ahead, Gavin.
Gavin Pell, Vance County. My understanding with this one, so with NODA, what we did is we vote to then vote. So with NODA, we voted to vote, and that didn't get 50% majority, my understanding. And so therefore, that's why we didn't do the 2/3 vote to apply it, and that's why we just went back to it now.
So we went back to it because it did not receive initial consideration.
Correct. But with this one, it did receive initial consideration, and it failed the 2/3 vote. So we just, unless someone makes a motion to bring it back, bring something happens to be very similar back, we don't get to go back to this one. It just failed. I know this happened with a different proposal in years past. Maybe a 23 bylaws proposal. I forget what it was, but that second vote didn't get 2/3, so it just didn't get passed, and we didn't go back to it because that's not what you do.
In reality, I think you're correct. And thank you for keeping me honest. The body can do what the body wants. So if someone in the body would like to make a motion to reconsider this, then we can do that. If not, I think you're correct that the motion is it's dead.
Lucas Jones, Wake County. I will make a motion to reconsider.
Okay, is there a second for that? Okay, we can do debate and discussion on the reconsider motion, but I don't know if we need to. I think it's I believe it is correct that it would require a suspension of the rules to reconsider this motion.
I, Matthew Clements, rise to suspend the rules
to reconsider
this amendment again.
Is there a second? Okay, this is a 2/3 vote to suspend the rules to reconsider this motion. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. nays do not, or the nays have it. It's not a 2/3 vote, so that motion is going to die. I believe we have considered all proposals. We did not suspend the rules to reconsider the removal of redundant word. Yes, correct. Okay. We technically have time. It is technically in order for other members to submit and give their presentation and whatnot on bylaws, rules, and changes. However, it is 1:56 and 30 seconds left, or 11:56 and 30 seconds. We have lunch at 12. There's a motion on the floor.
I'll second.
It is seconded. People are hungry.
If I may, I would just like to make a quick announcement.
Well, is it a specific announcement about things that we need to consider? Or could it be done after the
No,
vote?
it requires no vote.
Okay, then
It's
if you just,
a request of the body.
can it be considered just after we go to lunch?
If I had just started saying it, I would be done already.
Go ahead.
As somebody who runs the Twitter account, I'm very grateful to Angela and Susan in particular, who have been tagging us in content for the posting stuff on Twitter about the convention. If anybody else wants to help with doing that, just please tag us at LPNC. Makes it very easy for me to repost it and put it on our Twitter timeline. Thank you.
Everybody smile. All right. Any objection to going to lunch right now? We will convene at 1:30. Any objection? No. Yes. You can donate. You can go back in the thing and